Are you a doctor or a dentist? Maybe a high net worth professional? If you haven't added multifamily real estate to your investment portfolio, you are doing your future self a huge disservice. The first thing that any dentist should do before considering investing in real estate is to get a at least basic foundation of knowledge about the asset class that they want to invest in. This is what we as doctors do. Before we use a new product on a patient, a new technique, we learn everything we can about that topic. We take training on that topic before we ever try it on a patient. And that should be the same mindset when it comes to investing. On these series of videos, what we do is we teach dentists everything that they need to know so that they can make wise and prudent investment decisions. On this particular episode, we're going to talk about the different classes of multifamily real estate and which is the ideal investment for you. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Johnny Walker, man. It's so good to have you here. I love the feedback that I'm getting, and it just encourages me to keep going and trying to give as much value to you, and so that you can learn and educate yourself with information that you can't get anywhere else, not in a curated fashion for the busy professional. I'm Johnny Walker. I'm a successful endodontist with multiple dental practices, and I've invested heavily in real estate over the last decade, and the fruits of the labor are starting to really show themselves to me. What I've learned from investing and what it has brought me, which is freedom of time, freedom to step back from my clinical practice, freedom to spend enormous times with my family and friends, watch the miracle of my children growing up, take 6 to 8 vacations per year, and I pursue my passions, which allows me to live a very fulfilled and meaningful life. This is what I want to bring to you. This is my goal. My goal is to make 1,000 dentists financially free. Free to do what you want, where you want, with whom you want. If you like the content on this channel, please leave me a comment. I love the feedback. If you want me to talk about certain topics, please let me know. I would more than be happy to do that. Now let's get into it. Multifamily real estate. For those of you who don't know, click on the link. We talk about what multifamily real estate is, what multifamily syndication is, and why you need to have this as part of your portfolio if you're interested in building wealth passively. A multifamily real estate, very simply put, is essentially in apartment buildings. Everybody probably either knows of it, maybe if you lived in it, maybe you currently live in an apartment building. And for our sake of conversation, we talk about multifamily real estate not as 4plexes, 5plexes, which are also considered multifamily by some. We're talking about large apartment buildings where there's 50 to 100 to 500 units in one property. Now, all multifamily real estate, or all apartment buildings are not the same. They are generally lumped into 4 different classes: Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. On this video, we're going to break down what each of those classes mean and which is the suitable place for you to invest your capital. First, let's talk about Class A properties. Class A properties are the newest properties. They're less than 10 years old. They have the highest amenities, highest quality finishes of all the classes. They tend to be in the best neighborhoods, best areas of any particular market or submarket, as well as have the best school systems. Class A properties tend to cater to white-collar clientele, high-income earners. The business plan is aimed at cash flows and future appreciation of the building and the area that it's in, and often no opportunity for value-add opportunity. Many tenants in Class A properties can afford to buy their own home, and as their family grows, as they have children and they need more space, these type of renters are the ones that are most likely to move out into their own homes. And as a result, the turnover in Class A property tend to be higher. Class B property, these are also very nice property. They tend to be in pretty good shape. They're a little bit older than Class A properties, usually between 10 to 25 years. And like I said, overall, they're in pretty good shape. The tenant typically is a blue-collar worker, sometimes a lower-paid white-collar worker, and overall middle-class renter demographic. Some people call this workforce housing, as this tends to be for the average blue-collar worker. Now, these properties, compared to Class A, tend to have at least a little bit of value-add opportunity, potentially, But just like Class A, it more so depends on cash flow and appreciation for returns. This is often considered the sweet spot for investors, where you can get the opportunity for value add and forced appreciation, as well as still be in a good enough area where you can expect cash flows and appreciation to occur. Now let's talk about Class C properties. Class C properties is a slight step down from a Class B property. Class C properties tend to cater to blue-collar workers and low to middle income households. Now, Class C properties tend to be a little bit more outdated. The rents are below market value, and this creates an opportunity for forced appreciation or value add. By renovating the units, you can force appreciation by bringing rents from below market to market. This delta in rents is what drives the net operating income to increase, and as a result, the value of the property. And so you can actually force the appreciation of the property without the rest of the market going up. This tends to attract investors that are searching yield. They tend to have very good returns, very good cash flows on a risk-adjusted basis. Class C's are slightly higher risk than Class B, but they also allow for much higher returns than Class B. So on a risk-adjusted basis, Class C actually will probably outperform Class B or A. Class D properties are ones we want to stay away from. They tend to be very old, dilapidated properties in poor parts of the market. They tend to have the lowest quality amenities, lowest quality finishes. The clients or renters of these type of properties tend often to have lower credit, can often miss rent payments, include things like Section 8 housing from governments, which are pros and cons and can be a whole nother video on its own. But it's also important to add that a Class D has the potential to have a huge upside if it's operated by the right sponsor. By greatly improving the quality of assets, updating amenities, there is potential for heavy value add, and as a result, a higher amount of upside. But this is also the most riskiest of the four asset classes. Now, what's the take-home message from this? We at Walk of Wealth, we like to focus on B's and C's. A's tend to have already are at market rent. The room for value add is just simply not there, and we depend on natural appreciation forces. If they're well located market, this is a possibility and offers overall lower risk profile. We prefer Class B and C because we are in control of the appreciation. By renovating units, by taking properties that are demanding below market rents, making the proper adjustments, making the proper renovations, we can now raise the rents to market and create additional cash flows and wealth. Now, when you're comparing a Class A to, say, a Class B or C property, you got to also look at what is important to you as an investor. If cash flows are important in a new development or a Class A, cash flows may not really become substantial until several years have passed by. And the returns are more based on the property going up in value due to the natural appreciation forces of the market. Whereas if cash flow is more important to you, Class B and Class C property tend to be a better fit, as cash flows start very shortly after the renovation process has started. So ultimately, it comes down to what your goals are as an investor. I would love to continue this conversation more. If you have any questions, concerns, please address me in the comments below. I hope this video added value. If you want more wealth building tips, click on the next video. I'll see you next time.